All right, so we got all of it here. We just got the car up on the rack.
Yeah, so we pretty much ran, we pretty much ran the hardest we've ever ran with this car. Definitely pushed it to see what our limitations were, and we definitely found them. Car's making tons of power. We've ran this motor for quite some time now. We probably got, 5 or 6 events in it, running multiple passes, I'd probably say this motor's probably got 100 passes, I'd say, in it. So it was definitely at its limit, and we found that out at Texas2K. We pushed the car to try to run the personal best. The car went 756 at 181 on the first hit, which is a world record pass for the IRS S550. It's the fastest one in the world. We previously had that record as well with a 761 that we ran in Arizona, and owner of the car, a good customer, good friend of ours, pretty much was like, either we're going fast or we're blowing some shit up, and we definitely did both. Found the limits of the motor. When we first built it, we never had intentions of going this fast, so we kind of just went with off-the-shelf parts. So long story short, now it's time to upgrade the motor to see how much further we can push the platform, with this setup. So here it is. Now we're going to tear it apart, assess the damage from Texas2K, and see exactly what went out, and build it even better and stronger. So that's where we're at now.
It looks like it pretty much put a hole in the block. Yeah.
So I think what happened, without tearing it apart yet, I think it definitely broke a rod. I think we found the limit of that rod. And it's literally an off-the-shelf rod. It's nothing crazy. It's just, our basic Manly billet rod, if I'm not mistaken. Time to upgrade this motor and see how fast we can go. We have a deadline for Randy. Randy's out at Arizona, and they do a lot of cool track rentals out there. And so he wants to make it to one of his rentals out there, and gave us pretty much a deadline of when he wants the car over there. And called Bo at H Grade Racing and said, hey, we need a motor, we need some badass parts for it, and that's what he's working on, and we're working on getting him, whatever's good out of this motor. So
sweet. What do you think how long it's going to take you to get the motor out?
To get the motor out, I think we'd probably get it out within the next hour and a half. Michael he's worked on this stuff quite a bit, and we've done it quite a bit of times, so we can knock it out fairly quick. I think the main thing that makes it a little bit harder is that it has our top mount kit on it. But other than that, we know that thing, like the back of our hand. So we'll get that thing ripped out pretty quick.
And it's definitely gonna take some cleaning up to do.
Yeah,
it definitely put some oil all underneath the son of a bitch,
on the back too. There's oil all over the trunk lid and everything.
Yeah.
I wonder who was driving. He can't drive the shit.
It's all misted up there.
Yeah. And man, I ain't gonna lie. When we ran the fastest pass, the car was on a soft tune-up. I didn't really change anything from that pass to the one where it let go, but suspension adjustments. And from the times that it ran, I could probably tell you we would have easily went a 740 on that hit.
This is a stock run, right?
Yeah, stock. This is the way it comes from Ford.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But when we did run the record pass in this car, which was the first one, which is 761, it had a factory rear end. We didn't have any upgrades. Yeah, it's still over there fucking, in one piece. It's not nothing that broke or anything like that. We just wanted to upgrade. So we've been fortunate to have a customer like Randy, and we've definitely gone above and beyond for him. When he originally came to me, he wanted me to build him. He's like, dude, build the car like if it was yours.
That's what he
you know, and he just said he wanted, you know, an 8-second pass out of it. As we started building it and now we went to the track, I think the third hit the car went, you know, I think it's like a 520 or something at the 8th mile. 520 hit, that's a low 8-second pass. So he was like, oh shit, maybe we can go 7s with it. And that's how it kind of progressed. And so now we're here, and I think it's definitely going to be doable. It's going to take some tuning and some testing, but I don't see a problem with this car going 720s at the way it sits.
So it's the next day now. Mike and Aldo got this thing all torn apart last night. Everything looks pretty good until bam. Check that out. Piston pieces everywhere. I mean, like, wow.
Heads are fucked. Let's take a look at the heads.
Yeah, this thing's trashed. Yeah. That's rough. You can,
Hashtag rank 7.
that's right. You can see, you know, all this stuff is just that out.
Sheesh. Broke the whole fucking sleeve. All the other shit was normal. That's probably the only one that was really bad.
I say everything else looks pretty good, but
Yeah.
So I kind of came to a conclusion. At first I thought it was maybe a rod issue, and then when we pulled it apart, not fully pulled apart, we dropped the pan, saw some chunks of piston, so I was like, maybe it, you know, ripped the wrist pin from underneath the piston or something. But it doesn't look that way, because it definitely trashed that one cylinder, as far as like it trashed the head, bent the valves, it hit him pretty hard. So in order for that to happen, I don't necessarily think it would break the piston first and then hit the heads. I think what actually might have happened when we started tearing it apart, secondary chain snapped at almost 9,000 RPM, and if that snapped, it hung the valves open enough to fucking have them hit the piston. So my theory behind all this, I think the culprit to all of this was the secondary chain braking. Secondary chain brakes, pretty much the exhaust cam, let me think about it, the intake cam hangs open, and at that spot when it happened, yeah, so intake cam hangs open and takes those two valves and leaves them sticking down. Piston comes up and smashes them and destroys the piston. I don't necessarily think we might have overpowered the rods or the pistons, because they all seem to be intact. Bearings look good, crank looks good, all the other pistons look good. So I think the whole issue here was the secondary chain braking. I can show you guys something that people don't tend to believe, but this short block had no O-rings, absolutely no O-rings on the short block. I'm a firm believer, as long as you have a really good flat surface and good head gaskets with good studs, obviously, you don't need O-rings. We put, you know, almost 35 pounds of boost through this thing and never had a head gasket issue. Now with what we're doing now, we're gonna do the top fuel hoops in it now, which is going to have the receiver grooves in the block and then the top fuel hoops in the heads. So that's going to allow us to be able to, you know, push, you know, 40, 50 pounds if we really want to. Yeah, just for those people that, you know, think a copper O-ring or a stainless O-ring is going to be, you know, sufficient enough for that kind of boost level. Here's proof, dude. Proof's in the pudding that this motherfucker didn't need any of that shit. Never once lifted a head, never once pushed water or any of that sort of thing.
100
And
passes, baby.
we have, you know, almost 100 passes in this thing. We're actually going through all the logs and everything to count everything, and I'm sure we missed some, so I could definitely say we probably got 100 passes in this thing. It definitely lasted, but something that we probably would have never thought happened. So now to upgrade it and get it ready for the big rental that is happening in Arizona. So that'll be the next outing with this one.